Okay, we'll get started. Good morning, everyone. Welcome. Thank you for joining the September Agency Technical Administrator meeting. Quick notes on the setup for the webinar. Non-presenters are muted. Please use the questions area to ask questions. We'll answer as many in real time as possible. The question area is in the left side controls that you have for your webinar. Click the arrow to expand it, type your question in the text area and click send. It'll send us the question. The webinar is not intended to address specific client data situations. Please contact the help desk to get those resolved. The webinar is being recorded. We'll make the slides and the recording available via URL link that we'll send out. It's at the help desk under the ATA meetings. The agenda for today, we're going to go through, as we have been, the HUD 2024 data standards, focusing on the schedule for this weekend, a data quality update and schedule for the next round of data quality, and brief discussion about a new White House initiative that the Chicago COC is being included in called All Inside. So to begin with the 2024 HMIS data standards, we've shown this schedule that HUD puts out several times during our discussions over the summer. We're coming up on October 1st on Sunday, where everything will come together and get migrated over as an update to our system. The new data standards take effect on Sunday. As we provided before, the HUD Exchange website run by HUD has many documents about the new data dictionary, manuals, all sorts of other things, and that's the URL to get to those documents. In addition, for the Chicago COC, we've published a number of help desk articles, webinars, and other materials. And those can be accessed via the link that's on the screen. And again, these slides will be distributed. And we've made that available through the actual webinars and those materials as well, and emails out to all users. So in terms of the schedule, some of the completed items, WellSky, our HMIS vendor, has released an update with a sandbox with new project and other fields, so we can do, to our live system, so we can do updates to projects in advance of the October 1st release. They've also released a sandbox training site that we've obtained access to at the beginning of the month. We've been using this to scope the assessment and reporting changes required for our implementation of the HMIS. Using that, the changes to the custom assessments in the COC have been identified and cataloged. We have a work plan created that we'll be executing this weekend. And changes to reports have been identified, and that work plan has also been developed and has been partially completed. So in terms of an overview of what needs to happen this weekend, while we're making the changes, we need to restrict user access to the system prior to and during that update. WellSky will update our system. Our HMIS team will go in and update and rename assessments, and then we'll allow users back onto the system. That's the basic overview of what needs to happen this weekend. So in terms of a more detailed schedule, on Saturday, we will be sending out reports that are usually distributed on Mondays, so that if there's any kind of an issue with the update, we at least have up-to-date reports as of Saturday. On Saturday at approximately noon Central Time, we will terminate any active user sessions and deactivate accounts to restrict access onto the system. At some point on October 1st, and we still don't have a precise time, WellSky will apply the update and let us know that it's been completed. Once that's done, our team will go in and update project master data we weren't able to update previously. We'll also update and rename existing assessments. The custom assessments comply with the 2024 data standards. And once all that is done, we will reactivate the accounts and send emails to users announcing that the system is available again. We'll send status updates to all users via email, as we have been doing, as needed. Hopefully we won't need to send out a lot of emails, but we'll let people know what's going on over the weekend and what kind of progress we're making and any delays that might be occurring. I'll pause for a minute, see if there's any questions so far about the schedule. Okay. So in the scoping that we've done in terms of the assessments that are affected, we have 2 slides here with a list of all of the assessments that will need to be updated on Sunday. There's a custom assessment called additional profile information, the annual assessment, our version of the one that HUD distributes, the call point profile, which is a custom assessment, the several COC specific 2020 household member details, the 2020 standardized housing assessment, the update to the standardized housing assessment, and new contact information for the standardized housing assessment. There's one for facing forward that's a DV assessment. The HHS path assessments distributed by HUD, we have custom versions of those that need to be updated. The RHY entry assessments for street outreach, shelters, transitional, and homelessness prevention. The HPCC assessment that is custom to our community, and the COC and ESG entry for all other projects. You'll see the other list as we get to the next slide. And where you see a 2020 or 2022 year stamp on these assessment names, those names will be changed to say something like FY 2024 to identify that we've performed the update on the prior versions of those assessments. And the remaining assessments on the list, the diversion entry assessment, the street outreach, shelter, and safe haven entry assessment, the SOAR entry assessment, the exit assessment, COVID-19 vaccine screening and status assessment, HOPWA entry for shelter and all other projects, the VASH entry, state homelessness prevention assessment, the VA GPD entry, and SSVF entry for homelessness prevention and rapid rehousing, youth provider assessments for shelters, and youth provider assessment for services only. So users should expect to see new versions of these assessments when they log in sometime on Sunday. And again, I'll pause to see if there's any questions from anyone. We have a question from Juanita McWilliams. This may not be relevant at the moment, but is it possible to get a report in HMAS to provide subpopulation information that is requested under data households on the project renewal applications? Again, Juanita, if you could submit that as a help desk ticket, we can see what we can do. Or if there is an existing project, existing report. Obviously, we are focusing our efforts on making sure we get the data standard stuff done by this weekend. But if you could submit that, we'll take a look at it. I'll scroll back up to show the first part of the list, see if there's any questions about those, and then go back to the next one. Juanita's added a question about already having requested it via the help desk. Juanita, let's set up a conference where we can talk through what the data is that you're looking for specifically, and then we can take another look at it with you. Okay, moving beyond the assessments to reporting. Just to highlight what will not be available on October 1st in terms of reporting. As we mentioned in an email to all users last week, the updated HUD reports will not be released on Monday. Sorry, on a Sunday with the update to the HMIS. WellSky is still working on those. And they've said basically they'll be working on it through the month of October, and they'll let us know, but their target date for those is the end of the month. So again, a reminder that if you have an APR due between now and the end of October, it would be a really good idea to finish it up this week and get it submitted by Saturday, so that you're not late, because the Sage upload portal, I don't know if there's an audio issue. Can everyone hear me? Okay, thank you. So the Sage upload portal is being updated this weekend, and so the APRs that you generate out of the HMIS this week and next week will not upload into Sage because they're not at the right data standard. So again, if you have APRs due, in order to not be late, get them submitted by Saturday so that you're using the current APR, the APR from the current data standard and Sage from the current data standard to get those uploaded. The other thing in Business Objects and the SQL database that we use, the copy of our data that we get sent to us by WellSky, any new fields in the 2024 data standard will also not be available either in Business Objects or the SQL database. A couple of examples that probably don't affect any of the reports that that are used in general. Things like there's a new HMIS participation status field and a coordinated entry participation status field in the project profiles. And those would not be available in any reporting until the end of October. What will be available on October 1st will be new values for questions in the 2024 data standards. So as we've gone through, the gender responses are changing. There's a new race ethnicity question, and that question and responses will be available. The destination and prior current living situation responses that are changing will also be available. And the changes in 2024 program types, like emergency shelter being changed to emergency shelter entry exit and emergency shelter night by night, those will all be available to be reported on both in Business Objects and any of the SQL reporting that we're doing. Questions on any of that? In terms of Business Objects reports that we've identified that need to be updated to conform with the 2024 data standards, the utilization report, the IDHS, ETH, EFNS report, almost all the DFSS reports, the data quality report, FYI eligible youth, current client list, past client list, clients with disability, project enrollment overview, AME details, a couple of one list reports, and the EHV referrals created report. Wanted to provide this in case there's a report that any of you use in Business Objects that Obviously, there are reports that are used that aren't on this list because they may not need to be updated. But if there are reports on this list that you need sooner rather than later, or a report that you think has some of the changed data standard fields or responses in it that should be on the list, please let us know as soon as possible. And again, these are in process. We're not saying that they're going to be ready to go on October 1st, but we're working to get them updated as quickly as possible. So I'll go back to the beginning of the list again and see if anyone has any questions. One last chance, well, not last chance, but I'll ask one more time, any questions on the business objects reports? Okay, in terms of reports generated out of our SQL database, these are also in process. Most of them go out at least weekly, trying to target to have them ready. So Leah Kling has a question: when are the SSVF export files being updated to the new updated HUD standards? I can double check with WellSky. I believe the SSVF export files are the CSV export files. And I don't know the answer to that, Leah. I assume they're in the bunch with any of the standard HUD reports or exports that won't be done until the end of October, but I will verify that. So the SQL reports generally go out on a weekly basis, and we are mostly done with these reports. And on that list are the CE list, the high risk report, the veterans active list report, match to enrollment, enrollment timeliness, RHPH veterans dashboard, and the community dashboards are updated as a result of processing those weekly files. Most of the changes are in adding a column for the new race and ethnicity, and in the files that went out yesterday, a couple of those reports had those additions in there already. And for the dashboards and other things, we need to change some of the groupings for race and ethnicity and gender, and also change things regarding the client prefers not to answer response and some of the destination and private living situation responses. So we'll send out an email verifying whether those reports have been brought up to date. The reason we're sending things out on Saturday, particularly for these reports, is to make sure that folks have data to use during the week in case there's any kind of an issue with either completing that or with anything happening with the update. Any questions on these or on the data standards in general? I think that's the last, yeah, that's the last slide on the data standards. Okay. For the data quality update, the data quality process for January through the end of June was conducted in August from the 14th to the 25th. We held office hours sessions for several agencies. The results from our perspective, they were very positive. I think it was good to work together on a few things and have some concentrated time to do those. We had 259 projects submit results. That's a significant increase in participation from the 2022 catch-up. So thank you to everyone for your participation and your work on all of that. The results have been posted at the normal place on the as a help desk article. A couple of notes on the results. We changed the format of that to eliminate some of the stacked columns for some of the specific results. It makes it easier for us to load into other things and do trending and things like that on some of the results and statistics. And we fixed a lot of the formulas for conditional formatting and things like that in the cells to highlight the ones where they're out of compliance or in compliance or other color-coded kinds of designations. And so now there's the summary tab and the details tab. We may make some changes because I haven't heard a lot of feedback that we need anymore to be doing 2 rounds of submission of data, and so we may just condense the spreadsheets into just the 1 round of data submission that we do. but we'll be soliciting some feedback on that. So if you have any comments or other feedback on how the results are being presented, please let me know. I want to make sure that's as useful as possible to folks. The next round of data quality will cover the third calendar quarter of 2023, so July 1st to September 30th. We're scheduling to start that on the 6th of November and complete it on the 17th. We'll do a webinar again the week of November 6th. We'll again do office hours, encourage people to take advantage of those. And one of the things we need to do between now and then is update all the data quality reports and the tabulation of the results to reflect the 2024 data standards. And we'll let you know when that's ready to go. Be aware that in the meantime, while we're working on that or any of the other business objects reports, if you run them, things like race and ethnicity will not be displayed. If there's any data regarding non-responses, like the one that changed from client refused to client preferred not to answer, none of that will be available in any of those reports till we make those changes. So we'll let you know as we make changes to each of those. Any questions on the data quality process? Okay. There is a new White House initiative called All Inside. So the White House, the U.S. Interagency Council on Homelessness, and 19 federal agencies are partnering with 6 selected state and local governments for up to 2 years to strengthen and accelerate efforts to help people move off the streets and into homes. And Chicago is one of those 6 selected state and local governments, along with Dallas, LA, Phoenix, Seattle, and the state of California. So for each community, there will be an embedded, dedicated federal official. Ours was hired in July. There will be dedicated teams to work on the items that are in the memorandum of understanding. New efforts will be launched to address major barriers and convene philanthropy, the private sector, and other communities to participate in this partnership effort. The Chicago COC established a memorandum of understanding with 5 priority areas, including, for the purposes of our discussion, support to address technical issues that relate to allowing the system to provide added transparency for HMIS partners that are working across the same populations. And so this effort has just kicked off, and as you can imagine, that work is going to be the primary focus and consume a lot of the time of the HMIS group until it's completed. So what does this mean for those of you fairly familiar with the HMIS and transparency of data and things like that? Oops. involves a lot of visibility and data sharing issues. So the next steps that are being pursued by the HMIS committee and the COC and all Chicago is to establish a work plan to accomplish the goal, that goal of the MOU. Part of that work plan will be to review the visibility and data sharing to ensure that it aligns with client consent and supports access to housing. Review the assessment structure to facilitate information sharing, and this is a topic we brought up previously with the HMIS committee. Another step is to determine how work will be completed by the HMIS committee and who else needs to be involved. Probably involving establishing a user group and a framework for guidance from persons with lived experience. Conduct a legal review to ensure visibility complies with state and federal laws. Assess our privacy policy and consent forms and process to ensure they're reflective of whatever these changes are to get decided on and implemented. So just to note, this was announced last week in the HMIS committee. So the work in terms of these next steps and things like that and work plans and all has just begun. We'll provide more details as the work continues, but details are a little sparse right now. But if there are any questions at this point, try to answer them as best I can. Okay, well, that's all the material that we have for this meeting. Again, I'll open it up for any of the topics that we covered today for any final questions or clarifications. Otherwise, I can give you part of your day back. Again, appreciate everybody's attendance and participation and involvement. And we'll make the recording available, but I'll pause for another couple of minutes and see if anybody has any additional questions. Okay, thank you, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your day, and you'll be hearing from us on multiple occasions over the weekend as we go through the update to the 2024 data standard. Thanks again. This will conclude the webinar.